It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
Kylie, we keep on seeing it in the news. Cost of living is biting. More and more families are finding themselves in a situation where both parents need to work, and a lot of mums in particular are kind of saying, this is getting tricky. All I've done for the last little while has been a mum. How do I put mum on my resume and get taken seriously? Just recently, there was an article on the ABC website where Jess Ong talked about precisely this challenge. She talked about how even becoming a mum, she wasn't sure if she wanted to be a mum, wasn't sure if motherhood was for her. But then once she had that child, there was nowhere else that she wanted to be. We've watched that happen with our own daughter.
Having 6 daughters of my own, I know that feeling. Like, you think that you're going to be happier outside of the home, but once you've got children who pull at your heartstrings, all you want to do is be with them.
Yeah, and of course our eldest daughter has made us grandparents. She's got her baby with her husband, and she
thought that she would spend a lot of time outside of the home being the breadwinner while her husband stayed at home.
That was their initial plan. Literally, he was like, yeah, I'll stay at home. I'll look after the baby. You can go to work. And I think he still would. But Chanel's not giving up that role for anyone. No. Nowhere else that I wanted to be. Jess Ong said that. And I mean, there's a whole lot of research from the Australian Institute of Family Studies that points in that direction, especially for new mums. I love what Jess said in her article. She said, to not have to outsource care is, of course, a privilege, full of tender moments, but it's also isolating, relentless, and completely undervalued. And this is what I want to talk about in today's podcast, because as more and more mums are saying, oh gosh, I do need to get out to work, but what do I put on my resume? We've been there. We've done something about it. So here's what Jess Ong said on an Instagram post, and she wrote about this in this ABC article. She said, I explained in my Instagram post that I'd updated my CV and decided to harness all of my ruminations and include being a mother. Because why not? She says, I haven't disappeared, but in the eyes of the system and the payroll, I have. Yet skills and talents that I've cultivated over the last 39 years are put to good use and challenged every single day.
But as far as a CV goes, it's almost like you've stopped learning, you've stopped growing, you've stopped progressing because you don't have a piece of paper that suggests that either you've gone to school and studied and furthered your education, or you've actually worked for high-flying business owners.
So a few years ago, you were having a conversation with somebody in your favourite retail outlet. Hashtag not sponsored, but you love Adairs, right? Like anything to do with home furnishings.
You know you're a frequent shopper when you're on first name terms with the boss of the store.
And all of the sales assistants as well. So you're in Adairs, you're having a chat, and she says, hey, we've got a position going. You should apply. And you came home and said, they've offered me a job, but I have to apply. What am I supposed to put on my resume? I haven't worked for over 20 years. To which I replied, you haven't had paid work for over 20 years. You've worked your tail off for the last 20 years. We need to put that you've been a mum in your resume, which is pretty much what Jess Ong from the ABC said. I wrote down that I was a mum and I put those skills in. And so you and I sat down and wrote a resume that had all of your mum duties as a reason why you should get this job in retail at Adairs. And I thought in today's conversation, because so many people are going through it, we should chat about what you put into that resume so that you could score the job that you really, really wanted to have.
I loved that we were able to have so much fun with this.
Yeah, we
because
did.
At the time, I was just looking at it going, as if they're going to be interested in me.
You rolled your eyes and you said, no, we can't say that I'm a mum. And I said, no, you are. We're going to detail everything that you do in your work experience as a mum. So I said, you're a CEO, you're an operations manager, you're a human resources manager. There's so much going on. And then we started to list everything that a CEO would do that you would do. Have a listen to this list.
Overseeing all managerial aspects of life for 6 children who require significant levels of oversight and direction. Let's be honest. With my husband, it's 7 people.
I can't believe that we put that in.
Planning, strategy and policy decisions for the team based on values and mission, coupled with short and long-term goals via weekly management meetings and quarterly strategy sessions.
So this is legit. You and I have a weekly family meeting and we have quarterly strategy sessions as a couple to make sure our family's on track. So you're saying as a CEO, this is what I do. I have these regular meetings and I oversee all of these aspects. Carry on though, because a CEO does more, and you wrote down another handful of roles and responsibilities in that CEO outline.
Delegating and overseeing all staff activities, maintaining client and employee relationships via an extremely complex calendar involving multiple moving parts.
It's so brilliant.
Building alliances and partnerships with other organisations.
In other words, organising play dates with other families.
Development of a culture that promotes performance excellence and builds team morale. Providing conflict resolution strategies wherever there is conflict between tricky personalities on the team, and providing inspired leadership for the team.
So I'm reviewing this with you right now. I'm watching it as you read this and I'm thinking, we did this without ChatGPT. Like this is a really, really creative, really fun resume. That's the CEO role, but we also included ops manager and human resources manager. Why don't you go through the 5 duties of a mum being an ops manager?
Being responsible for intricate logistics operations from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. and later for a large team. Managing a complex schedule for 8 people. Conducting analysis and improvement of all organisational processes and workflows. Working to improve quality, productivity and efficiency in the team, and occupational health and safety responsibilities for the entire team.
I just love that one. And the human resources manager, we put 3 things down for that as well.
Determining and establishing training procedures for the team, developing team roles for each new member of the team based on individual development, training and capability.
I love this.
And capacity building of team members.
So, I mean, we're having a lot of fun with this, but as we sat down and worked through this, you and I essentially said, all of these things that you do with your kids, you do this with adults in a team environment. So let's write it down. In a nutshell, running a large family requires you as a mum to learn and master an extensive range of skills that are really tremendously transferable to the workplace. The maturity and the wisdom, the experience that you get from being a mum is so valuable. And that's just a small taste of the various things that we could write down that represent your capabilities. So that's part 1 of what we jotted down, but then we added some more.
So over the years, I have done extensive volunteering within our church organisation, and I added to my resume CEO of a children's organisation, president of a women's organisation, and the president of a young women's organisation. And within those, I outlined the different areas that I had worked and trained in to help each of those organisations flourish.
And the $1 million question, well, it wasn't really a $1 million question, but it was more of like a $24 an hour question. Did you get the job?
When I sat down with my boss, who wasn't my boss at the time, and we had the interview, she said, "Can I just tell you that your resume was the best resume I have ever read?" She said, "I sat down with my partner and we just laughed our heads off as we read everything that you've achieved." And she said, "And the reality is, yes, you have. You are doing all of those things on a daily basis."
I want to go back to the statement that Jess Ong made. She said, being a stay-at-home mum is full of wonderful, tender moments, but it's also isolating, relentless, and completely undervalued. But when you look at what that unpaid work taught you and how you were able to put that into a resume and turn it into something of value, you got that job because being a mum, being involved, getting your systems right in the family, it teaches you so much. And if I recall correctly, you were pretty highly valued on the team. Weren't you like their number 1 salesperson or something like that?
I was for a while.
For a while, yeah.
If nothing else, what it showed my future employer was that I was able to look outside the box and really get creative about how I might utilise my talents and gifts. And I think that was ultimately what got me the job.
Yeah. So Jess Ong, to wrap things up, she said this: "I returned to part-time paid work 6 months ago. And since then, I've started correcting people when they ask how work is going. gently interjecting with, paid work, you mean? It's not to make anyone uncomfortable, but I need to agitate the narrative because until I became a mother, I never really gave any of this much thought either. I never thought about the little value society places on the biggest job of raising its future, about how the label stay-at-home mum diminishes and simplifies the hours of never-ending and complex unpaid work. Now, we're going to share your resume. We'll make a couple of edits and alterations so that it's not too personal, but we're going to share your resume at happyfamilies.com.au and on our social media pages because I reckon there's going to be a lot of mums who are going to look at this and say, I can take this, I can tweak this, and I can make myself look like I'm presentable to an employer because as much as I want to stay at home, I need to work at the moment because everything costs so much. Kylie, I think it's inspiration. I think it's awesome what you did.
The thing that really stood out to me as I went through that process was when we started it, I felt so unsure of myself and I felt like I didn't have anything to offer. But as we went through the process of pinpointing all of the various skills that I had learnt and developed over our 20 plus years of parenting, it gave me the confidence to walk in there and say, I actually have something to offer. It was powerful. It was really powerful.
The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. If you'd like more info to make your family happier or to get more information about specifically what we've talked about today, visit happyfamilies.com.au or go to our social media sites at all of the major platforms.